Well, amidst the ongoing India-China standoff in eastern Ladakh at the line of actual control, an 8-month-old video from September 2019 of a troop standoff in the Pangong Tso sector has now suddenly surfaced. This video, let me say it very emphatically, is from September 2019, but these visuals depict a very aggressive Chinese on the banks of the Pangong during a joint patrol by India and China. Both the sides were patrolling in an area that is claimed by both, and these are the scenes that were witnessed. This is 8 months, September 2019, so it's a full 8 months before the current situation. But what you can see on your screens on the banks of the beautiful Pangong Tso are troops, boats, vehicles, and very aggressive posturing by the Chinese. They've brought their heavy vehicles, they've brought lots of troops, they've got all their boats lining up on the surface of the lake in a threatening maneuver. They've got their heavy all-terrain vehicles riding up on that particular road. But what you can also see in these pictures are Indian troops standing their ground, sometimes even sitting on that road and not letting the Chinese pass through. Very clear establishment of the facts on the ground. Let me make it even clearer for all my viewers. What you're looking at is the Pangong Tso sector, which is currently one of the big hotspots in eastern Ladakh between India and China. This is a video that's been released from September 2019 but has only made its way onto social media now. India Today has gained access to it, and it depicts a particular collision between an Indian patrol and a Chinese patrol on the banks of the Pangong Tso lake. Now, the precise location of this is known to us, but we will not be revealing that for obvious reasons. But the situation 8 months after this video was taken has, of course, dramatically changed, with China creating permanent positions in the Finger Four area and attempting to dominate a particular place like this one that has been patrolled by both sides for years. Let's listen into this video for a moment and then bring our reporters in. Okay, so September 2019 video, but it also, our viewers may be wondering why I'm showing you a video that's from September 2019. There are two very good reasons. A, the situation has completely changed in this particular area. There are no more patrols running into each other in this fashion, because China has created permanent positions, making it a very serious situation in Pangong. And reason number two, it shows you how the Indian army defends Indian territory in the bravest way possible. Take a look. The Chinese have brought their boats, they've brought their heavy vehicles, they've brought a large number of troops in a very, very aggressive manner, but the Indian army is holding its ground. You can see Indian Army Jawans, you can see Indian Army officers as well, all over there, standing their ground and telling the Chinese, we will not let you pass. That's the story of this video. And this gives you a sense of what the atmosphere was like in the run-up, because 8 months later, on the 6th of May, 5th and 6th of May, was a violent clash between troops of both sides that finally sparked the current standoff that we are seeing in 2020. I want to go across to India Today's Gaurav Sawant and Abhishek Bhalla with me live. Gaurav, coming to you first. Video from 8 months ago, spectacular background of the Pangong Lake, but once again establishing the very difficult, aggressive conditions in which our army and ITBP personnel operate in. This is an area where the Chinese have been most aggressive recently, and this video from 8 months ago provides an indication of the building atmosphere.
Shiv, this video shows how it led to the current situation. So the Chinese are preventing Indian troops from patrolling up to finger 8, which is what is our claim line. The Chinese are able to come in bigger vehicles. They're able to come in bigger numbers, as is very apparent in these visuals. Why? Because in 1999, the Chinese were able to build a road up to finger 4. So from Sirijap is where the Chinese have their battalion headquarters, which is where the Chinese are now building up. Even on today, they're building up in a very big way. Their support lines, the teeth are in. The tail is now being strengthened by China. But this video very clearly shows that the Chinese are able to come quickly, deploy quickly, and yet our soldiers continue to fulfill the task that was assigned to them, which is touch up to finger 8. Now, of course, as you very rightly pointed out, Shiv, we cannot go beyond finger 4 because that is where the standoff is happening. But this is right next to the lake. Climb up the fingers, go up to the ridge. Again, standoff between Indian soldiers and the Chinese soldiers. Eyeball to eyeball. We are on finger 4. They are beyond finger 4. And now it remains to be seen, Shiv, whether this is handled in military diplomacy way, diplomatically or politically or any other way for the situation to be restored, for India to be able to patrol once again to finger 8.
Okay, Abhishek, each video that comes up, there is obviously a video war that's going on, lots of psyops being played between both sides. But this particular video, which we can confirm is from September 2019, not from the current standoff, but 8 months before the standoff. If you look at the details of the video, they are so interesting and they tell our viewers precisely the conditions under which Indian troops operate. You can see the Chinese coming in large numbers. You can see their boats, in a lineup of those patrol boats off the coast coming very close to the shore, to monitor this particular face-off. You can see all-terrain vehicles as well. Many indicators of what was going to follow 8 months later.
Shiv, this video actually puts to context the current situation at Pangong Lake. In fact, in September 2019, and this video is also dated then, as you mentioned, there was a face-off at Pangong Lake, and the reason for that was because Chinese had created blockades for the Indian patrols to move beyond finger 4, and that's what had led to a lot of trouble then. The Indian patrol, the Indian Army did not bother about those blockades, instead found an alternative route, climbing up the ridgeline, making a sort of a walking track, which in local parlance in the hills is called a pagdandi, if I can say so. And that's when they managed to go beyond finger 4 towards finger 5. Yes. That's where the Chinese stopped them again, saying that why are you coming at this road made by us? So this is the entire context to what's happening now, Shiv. Exactly the same scenario is repeating now. So this problem actually started back in September 2019. Then the winter set in. Obviously, patrolling is not easy during the winter months. Once the winter ended, we had the summertime, and both the sides came face to face, and the situation escalated to what it is now.
Okay, Gaurav, coming back to you, the Pangong Tso situation is quite serious, as we've been reporting consistently here on India Today. This video shows that the Indian side had been patrolling quite a bit, but was being, challenged by the Chinese, and the Indian army, the brave Indian army forces were standing their ground, fending off the Chinese, not giving away an inch. But things have changed dramatically on the ground, Gaurav, at the moment, with the Chinese, achieving dominating positions on finger 4, creating pillboxes and some concrete structures as well.
Shiv, in fact, that's the reason for considerable alarm. You see, what had happened was the dynamics along the line of actual control changed completely after the Doklam standoff of 2017. Till Doklam, both sides would come to each other's claim points, jostle around and then go back. In 2017, we saw the most serious face-off at Pangong Tso, where you remember that visual where there was a massive fist fight and weapons like these clubs being used for the first time in a big way. So 2017 it escalated, 2018 remained tense, 2019 is this image of the standoff where the Chinese prevented India from going up to a claim line of finger 8, yet the soldiers went up to the ridgeline and went, which led to a huge, diplomatic, military diplomacy. It was taken up in a very big way way, Shiv, at the border meeting point between India and China. And 2020, because of COVID, India wasn't deployed in such big numbers. India had very skeletal presence, and the chief rewarded those boys. Despite being hopelessly outnumbered, these young boys of the Indian Army, Ladakh Scouts and another battalion, elements of those, they went and faced off with the Chinese. They were hopelessly outnumbered, and yet they tried to prevent the Chinese from coming and setting up at Finger 4. So, India's always... It depends on the instructions that the soldiers get from the superiors. And as far as the army is concerned, the political leadership. So, moment that decision is taken, there will be whatever response that needs to be taken, whether this issue is to be sorted out diplomatically, military diplomacy, politically, or any other way. I've been speaking to top commanders in the army saying that as of now, we are deployed, and that is why the Chinese are now bringing in additional resources, because they know when it comes to India's deployment, the Chinese as of now are not as well deployed, Shiv.
Okay, Gaurav and Abhishek, continue to stay with me, because while efforts between India and China are underway to disengage in the Galwan Valley, we've shown you Pangong, but also Galwan Valley, where de-escalation focus is prominent. Another flashpoint area, the Pangong Tso area, is simmering quite prominently. The exact place where we've shown you that video from 8 months ago. China seems to be readying for another face-off, as Gaurav indicated, going for big deployments in the Pangong Tso area. India today has accessed new satellite images posted by popular open source intelligence Twitter handle Detrespa. The satellite images reveal at least 4 new Chinese support positions between Finger 4 and Finger 6 areas, believed to be in the making since the 13th of June. These camps can be termed support positions to the main Chinese military positions on the Finger 4 ridge. One of these camps has been set up south of the main camp across the river. Boats, tents and equipment across the lake, I beg your pardon. Boats, tents and equipment are seen in these camps from high-resolution satellite images. And given the time and effort invested by the Chinese army in setting up these camps, the disengagement at Pangong Tso promises to be the trickiest. Sai Kiran Kannan is live with me from Singapore. He is an OSINT expert and a reporter with India Today. Sai Kiran, thank you for being with me here on India Today. Excellent work by you and Detrespa in putting these images together and making sense of those for us. We've just played out, Sai Kiran, a video of Indian and Chinese troops, patrols running into each other, between Finger 4 and Finger 8 from 8 months ago. Very indicative of the Chinese aggression building up in that particular area. And now these new images that you have accessed and put together with Detrespa show the support positions. We've seen the frontier positions, but these are the support positions that could help in case hostilities break out.
Yes, Shiv, definitely. Because as of now, ever since these scuffles, started between India and the Chinese army at various places in Ladakh, the main point of contention or the main point of focus at Pangong Tso Lake was that main camp at the Finger 4, which was widely reported, and there were numerous sightings of the blue-colored boats that were very visible from the satellite pictures that we've received. But of late, there has also been subsequent camp base activities, much slightly farther away from the Finger 4 area, and it is basically between Finger 4 and Finger 6. Where we've unearthed around 4 new camp site areas, and especially 2 of them already have all-weather campsites. So that basically tells you that the PLA is there for a long haul. It doesn't matter what disengagement happens at the drawing board or at the meeting table, but the way the camps have been spread across strategically, especially if you look at one of those campsites, which is at the top base. I think it's Camp 3, if I'm not wrong. That is really close to the LAC, and it's at a very strategic height. And the other part that we noticed was the one that you just mentioned, south of Finger 4, where it's across the lake. that is also a very strategic position where you don't have an all-weather base yet, but there are numerous camps mushrooming up there.
What is the expectation of what could happen next, Sai Kiran, based on these images? You know, we've seen permanent positions being constructed on the ridgeline itself. We've observed now through these images the support positions, not just between Finger 4 and Finger 8, but also on the south shore, including possible gun positions there. Almost every expert is unanimous that if there is any further hostile action to be expected, it's likely to happen in the Pangong Tso sector.
Yes, Shiv. Given that the meetings have mostly focused on the Galwan Valley region, right? So there were numerous reports that even when the talk of disengagement was proposed by both parties, Pangong Tso was always going to be a tough one for the PLA armies to disengage, because they see it as a very strategic place. And given the Shul approach that is on the other side, they feel that this gives them a very good strategic position if they were to escalate things, and not just that. I think Pangong Tso alone should not be taken into consideration as just the sole point of focus. I think China is deliberately trying to put pressure on multiple areas. There's even talk of escalations on the Sikkim side. And of course, we are aware of the Galwan Valley clashes that happened recently. So I think it's more of applying pressure on all sides. And given that there's such strong mobilization of troops and camps, especially, I think this is for a long haul. And disengagement or not, I think we may see this play out for a few weeks or even months.
Okay, thanks very much, Sai Kiran, for joining me on that story. Those images, once again, taking the story one step further and telling you how hostilities in Pangong Tso may not be such a remote possibility. All indications of what China is doing point to possible plans afoot. A week after the standoff along the line of actual control in Ladakh's Galwan River Valley, China is now provoking in another sector of Ladakh. China is trying to block Indian patrolling in the Daulat Beg Oldie area between patrol points 10 and 13. Top sources tell India Today that the Chinese plan to encroach areas near the Karakoram Pass and get to their depth of their highways, which move towards Pakistan over Indian territory. The patrol point 14 is the Galwan standoff point, where that ugly bloodshed unfolded between Indian and Chinese soldiers on the 15th of June. India Today had also earlier accessed exclusive images that exposed China's devious intentions. Images show camps, vehicles and vehicle tracks near the Chinese camps in Depsang to the north. So far, there are 5 flashpoints in the Ladakh region where India is matching China with its own mobilization and build-up. The latest Chinese mobilization has been witnessed in Depsang and the Daulat Beg Oldie sectors of North Ladakh. The Chinese military build-up has also been seen in hot springs via satellite images. Pangong Tso and Galwan have already witnessed a standoff.
We broke the news about the June 15 bloodshed in Galwan. We told you the true story of what really happened. We exposed China's relentless and dangerous mobilization in Pangong Tso. And now, the next big step in China's border plan. There is a fresh evidence that China may be trying to open a fresh front in northern Ladakh. Top sources tell India Today that China has begun mobilizing in the Depsang and DBO sectors from a base just over 20 kilometers away from Indian positions. India Today has accessed these exclusive images which unmasks the Chinese intentions. Camps and vehicles were spotted near the Chinese base in June. The Chinese base was built before 2016, but the new camps and vehicle tracks in the region are clearly visible in these recent satellite images.
Chinese have come with a particular aim, and this aim was decided at the highest level, and it is being executed by Western Theatre Commander Zhao Zongqi and Major General Liu Lin. So let's not get surprised that what is happening, because there is a design, and that design is exactly unfolding as per the Chinese plan.
The Depsang Plains were the site of a long and deep Chinese intrusion in 2013. And expecting trouble here, the Indian Army has already mobilized in a big way from May itself. If the Chinese attempt hostile actions here, they will meet exponentially stiffer resistance than in 2013. Taking no chances, India is keeping its eyes and ears close on ground and its powder dry. Leading from the front, Army Chief General M.M. Narwane, who is in Ladakh, met soldiers at the front line along the LAC. The Army Chief commended the troops who took part in face-offs with the Chinese soldiers in Ladakh for their high morale, exhorting them to continue with the same zeal and enthusiasm.
The Army Chief's big shabash to troops on ground is a major morale booster to soldiers deployed along the India-China line of actual control in eastern Ladakh. But there remains a cause for grave concern, and that is increased Chinese activity in the Depsang Plains. So it's not just Galwan or Pangong Tso. Depsang could well be a flashpoint. But here, the Indian Army is already deployed in large numbers to ensure that there is no Chinese army misadventure. With Shivarur in Delhi and with cameraman Kripal Singh in Leh, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
I want to go back to Gaurav and Abhishek who are still with us. Gaurav, what are we expecting to see today? Fresh indications of disengagement in the Galwan area, and also tell us about what the army is saying about the build-up you're seeing in some of these other sectors, including DBO and Depsang.
So Shiv, today by this afternoon, the Chinese were supposed to pull back some distance. The initial commitment when the two generals met on the 22nd of June was to have a confidence building measure, to have visible signs of moving back. And today was the day that the Chinese were supposed to move back by a kilometer. We are still waiting to hear officially, but some indications are that the Chinese are moving back from the Galwan flashpoint. And remember, this is only restricted to Galwan flashpoint. Once India verifies that China has moved back a kilometer, then the Indian troops will move back 1 kilometer. Then China has to verify that we've moved back 1 kilometer. And once both sides have verified this, then it moves on to other sectors and other flashpoints. So it's going to be a very slow, a very tedious process. But from what sources indicate that the Chinese are living up to their commitment. Will they stab us in the back like they have in the past? Well, sources say you can be fooled once, you cannot be fooled repeatedly, and there are several measures that India has taken to ensure that the Chinese do not, stab India in the back once again. So yes, but there is some movement, additional vehicles and troops who had come into Galwan. They appear to be moving back 1 kilometer is what sources are telling India today.
Okay, Gaurav and Abhishek. What are you expecting? We're hearing, movements in Galwan Valley. There is an expectation that something visible should be seen on the ground. The June 22nd images showed that the Chinese were back at patrol point 14. What are you hearing from your sources?
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.